Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today I want to talk about DK's new shard. Well, it's not really that new, it's actually been the same for a while, but recently in 7.31, his shard, Fireball, was buffed from 65 damage to 80. And on top of that, what's really important to note about shards right now is the viability behind certain shards has really changed, because farming shards that will enable certain heroes to hit timings and are particularly good the earlier you get them, have been massively buffed ever since they've been moved from 20 minutes to 15 minutes. And this is certainly the case with DK's Fireball. If you don't know what it is, it's basically just fire on the ground that does damage. It lingers for 2 seconds when enemies walk in it, and yeah, that's about it. Well, it's a 20-second cooldown, that's important to note as well. Nukes like this generally fall off the later the game goes. Why? Because people get Force Staffs, Glimmer Caves, BKBs, levels, HP, so these static damage nukes are the worst the earlier you get them. It doesn't mean you couldn't buy it in the past. You could, right? After all, it still is wave clear, but now it's been buffed, and you can buy a static damage nuke at minute 15 on a hero that has a stun. This means you can keep them in that nuke as well. So let's get into it. Let's talk about how to play the current DK. And so yeah, if you're excited for today's video, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and literally every single day for the gameleap website, we're pumping out content, like really good stuff that's going to help you get to the next level. If you're stuck, you don't know like why you're not gaining rank, and you think, oh, it's my teammates, or I don't know what it is. Is it my items? Is it my mentality? Is it my skill build, my talent build? I'm going to help you get a much more clear picture over on the website, so click the link down below, sign up, and I'll see you guys there. Alright, so in terms of the laning stage, I didn't want to go into this laning stage too much because it was literally just a 50-50 CS battle with him against Lone True. The main thing you need to understand about DK is two main things. Number one, your Q reduces damage by a flat number. That means even at level 1, this is an incredible ability to make people miss CS. If you use it on someone when they will usually go for a CS, it will cause them to miss it every single time. As a result, you can get the deny. So the optimal DK gameplay in the laning stage is to queue for a CS and make people miss CS as a result. On top of that, the second spike is when this hero hits level 3 and has 2 points in Dragon Blood. Essentially 6 armor and 6 HP regen is kind of the point where most heroes just don't do enough damage to kick you out of the lane, unless they have poison attack or sticky napalm or gyro Q sometimes, so as a result, that's when you can really start to get aggressive and auto attack people a lot, even inside of creep waves. Basically, creeps do 0 damage to you once you've hit level 3, so you want to keep that in mind. On top of that, he takes a value point in stun at level 5, and I like this as well. The reason why is it's very tempting to take a 3rd point in Breathe Fire or a 3rd point in Dragon's Blood and double down on your already strong abilities, but the thing is the stun is incredibly good at level 1. It's a 2.25 second duration, 70 damage, pretty significant, on a very low cooldown for a not too much mana cost. And on top of that, it's ranged when you hit level 6. So personally, I love taking the ulti, just like Jabs does in this game. On top of that, the next thing you want to do is at level 6. This is no different than the old CK, but I want to reiterate it for anyone who is, watching this video and thinking about playing DK for the first time, or, just isn't too experienced with the hero. You want to use your ulti as much as you can. A bad DK player will hold it for kills. They'll hold it for basically any opportunity to, just get a kill. Do not look at it like this. Number one, it does help you farm. It does damage at level 1. The Corrosive Breath does 20 damage per second. And most importantly, it works on towers. So essentially, the idea on DK is hit level 6, pop it, and chip down the tower. On top of that, another thing to note about DK that I cannot stress enough is do not rotate. Don't rotate. I know people are gonna be like, Speed, but what if they dive my tier 3 tower and I can get a rampage? Okay, then TP, bro. Alright, then TP, man. Okay, if you could get a triple kill and you were sure of it, TP. But out of 99 out of every 100 games, if you max E, which I recommend you guys do, okay, go the build that he goes, especially if they're primarily physical damage, max E. If the enemy team can kill you regardless of the fact that you max E, then don't max E, max your Q. If they have a Batrider and a Viper and a Timber, don't max your E, you're gonna feed anyway. You're better off clearing waves quicker so you don't have to show in the lane as much. And you can pressure the tower, once again, without having to show in the lane for as long. That's the key in bad DK matchups. In good DK matchups like this game against a Lone Druid, maxing the E is fantastic. Right, that is the gist here. But do not rotate. You want to hit your blink shard timing as fast as humanly possible. This timing is insanely strong. I cannot stress this enough. So as you'll see here, he's gonna max E, look to kill the large camp, look to shove in the wave, can look to pressure the tier 1 tower over and over and over again. That is your gameplay. That is it. Do not make it more complex. However, when you get Blink Dagger, obviously when you get Blink Dagger, you can look to make it roam play. Generally, you need a +1 with a high damage hero. DK does not do a lot of damage, so pairing with heroes like a Storm Spirit, an Ember, a Void Spirit, an Invoker is a great idea, and generally is going to work as they cast Shalone Druid here. Now, 2 more things to note. In terms of item build, he goes for a double Bracer build this game. If you know the lane is going to be a 50-50 CS battle, which it often is the case for DK, for instance, you're laning against the PA, Lone Druid, or Faceless Void, you're never going to kill them. Then you want to buy 2 Bracers. Why? They are the highest damage item you could buy. This is going to allow you to deny creeps and be completely unkillable, allowing you to essentially stay in the lane and optimize your farm as well as denies, which is kind of what you do on DK. If the lane is a bit more difficult and you need to play around Wave Shove or you have a lot of kill threat, then I personally do like the earlier Soul Ring, because you can spam your Q as much as you want, especially when you hit level 4. On top of that, skip your ulti at level 10 in most games. He ends up taking the talent at level 11. This game takes to 15 damage. This depends on the game. I genuinely lead the 30% Breathe Fire reduction is an insanely good talent. It brings it up to 55% reduction of damage, which is honestly insane. I personally think it's the better talent. I know why he takes damage. It's primarily just the farm and, well, honestly, that's about it. Obviously, it does damage to heroes too, but it's mostly just a farm. But let's take a look now at the shard timing. This is what we're here for. So the main thing that it really benefits is this timing in the game where DK usually couldn't kill people. This is around the time in the game, the 60-minute mark, where you have your Blink Dagger. You don't have a primary DPS item though, and as a result, you'll Blink Stun, and if you don't have a proper +1, you won't get kills. This no longer really is the case against these lower HP heroes in the early game. As you'll see against this Weaver here, yes, he has an Omni Knight, to be fair, he does. But look, even with just the Hammer of Purity from Omni, I think this Omni's... Oh yeah, okay, you can see, right? Omni doesn't really have a good purification. He still kills him. The old DK wouldn't necessarily be able to get the kill there. I'm going to replay it one more time. Because of the fact that, well, the Weaver would get off time lapse. He would live on about 150 HP that the Fireball does. And the gist is, you want to go in, Fireball, stun. If the hero is very mobile, you can stun then Fireball. But optimally, you put the Fireball down first, just to make sure it's ticking for as long as possible, right? You want to keep them in it for as long as possible. So if you can blink Fireball to stun, it's better than stun Fireball. You just have to think about the matchup and, if the hero can get away or not. But either way, he ends up getting the kill. Beautifully done. Nice little rotation. And essentially, when you hit your Fireball, you want to stick around the middle to bottom side of the map. You generally want to bounce between the two, essentially pushing in the bottom wave as much as you can, assuming your safe laner isn't there. If your safe laner is there, feel free to just essentially play on the opposite side of the map of your safe laner, plus mid when you have Blink Dagger. On top of that, look at this, guys. He hits level 12, pops his ulti to farm. You might be like, oh, Speed, he's the offlaner. Is this guy crazy? Yes, but it's good to do this. Even though you're an offlaner, DK scales incredibly well. You have some of the best talents in Dota. I'm not just saying that. You literally have some of the best talents in Dota, and you should look at this hero as a scaling hero. Especially with this shard, you do a stupidly high amount of damage. Even in this gank here, guys, I want you to take a look at how crazy this actually is. He ends up getting caught out by a beautiful Sunstrike from the Invoker, but because he doesn't panic, he nearly turns this around. With a couple of auto attacks applying the corrosive damage, the Fireball, and then eventually a Breathe Fire, the Invoker gets dropped to, I think, like a 3rd HP at the end of this. And you can see the power of the DK. Brew is dropped to half HP, Invoker nearly dies? Like, literally nearly dies? And that's what happens when you have a level 12 Dragonite plus the Fireball. You're a threat to everybody, and you're really hard to kill. Alright, 2 things about DK. If your team is fighting, show up to the fights once you have Blink Shard. Next, if they're not fighting and they're AFK, which I know happens in pubs, do not be afraid of popping your ulti and farming. I stressed this earlier, I just wanted to say it again to really get the point across to you guys. In teamfights, the execution is simple. You almost always want to just blink stun someone your teammates can follow up on. Try not to blink stun people that are high HP, these like centaurs, especially if there's no direct follow-up. That is the worst thing you can do. However, targets like this Invoker here are extremely good, assuming he has follow-up. And yeah, the best part of this Fireball is the cooldown, for sure, which is why I think it's so powerful. 20 seconds is just not long for how big this shit is. I mean, look at how big it is. That's ridiculous, dude. That thing is huge. It's at least 8 inches, right? I mean, that's incredible. And so really it covers a massive area in fights as well. So it's definitely one of those abilities. Let's say you're fighting around Roshan. it's incredibly powerful if you put it down around this area as well, right? And that's extremely useful too. On another note as well, it's only 100 mana. That's actually less mana than your Breathe Fire. So you can use it on creep waves, right? Like in a situation like this, you can just drop it on a creep wave instead of queuing. It's not the same cooldown. It's definitely not a similar cooldown. Breathe Fire is almost half, but it clears the wave much, much quicker than Breathe Fire. Breathe Fire leaves every creep at like half HP. It's extremely inconvenient unless you have your ulti. So yeah, just keep that in mind. All right, next up, let's talk about talents. So at level 10, he takes the 15 damage. We talked about this. You know, Breathe Fire reduction definitely has its places, especially against high edgy heroes like Morphling and TV. The only thing you have to be careful about is it can be dispelled, so, you know, there's that. But if used properly, it's insane how much damage it actually reduces. At level 15, honestly, I actually prefer the Dragon Tail stun. The reason why is I feel like DK doesn't really get bursted. If the enemy team can burst you, I think it's like reasonable to take the 400 health. And 400 health is a very, very high amount of health, like for a level 15 talent. It is, right? It's like a 20 strength talent. You don't obviously get strength. You get the point. However, I think the Dragon Tail stun, even though it is 0.5 seconds, is quite noticeable. Every time I pick it, it feels good. So I personally prefer the Dragon Tail stun. He opts for health this game. At level 20, this one just depends on how the game is playing out. If you're scaling very well, like let's say you're having a very good game, the Elder Dragon form attack range is nuts, man. It is such a high attack range talent. 175 is insane. Dragonlance, I think, is less than that. Dragonlance is 140. This is way better than a Dragonlance. Right, 35 is quite a bit more. So you can see if you're scaling well and you want to end up being the siege hero, you can do that. And that's what he does this game. And then at level 25, obviously it depends. 12 regen and armor. I would say it's generally underwhelming at level 25, but if you're only dying to physical, you know, so be it. You can skill it. But usually I would say the AoE Dragon Tail is just better. On top of that, in terms of item build, I recommend you can, you know, just going exactly what he does. The blink into, you know, Shard, BKB, Ags. I don't like love the Ags as much as other people do. However, I do understand why people take it. If you don't know what it does, it gives you a 4th level of the dragon, the Black Dragon. It gives you free pathing, 20% magic resist, which is quite significant, right? It's basically better than a hood. Bonus corrosive damage, bonus splash damage, and slow amount. So it essentially amps everything and gives you magic resist and free pathing, right? It definitely makes you quite a bit stronger. The cool thing about the free pathing as well is if you're good about it, you can play fights on top of hills. And like, you can also play fights in areas like this, and you can, you know, kite. Like, let's say some Sven is running at you. You just sit here. And obviously that's pretty freaking good. All right, getting into this next team fight, this is not really good execution, but I still want to show it to you guys anyway, so you can kind of get the gist of what looks good and what looks bad. You want every fight to start with like a quick, clean jump your team can follow up on without like wildly overextending. So like, for instance, if he blink stuns the ogre here, it would be pretty reasonable, but instead he kind of gets stunned. This is, once again, not what you want. He pops BKB without it being followed up by an instant stun, which is, once again, not really what you want. So this fight is not a great example of how to initiate. It needs to be clean, and once again, the key thing is can be followed up. So usually you just jump the closest person to keep yourself and your team in position, and that's quite important. However, you're going to notice as he gets the Black Dragon here, he's able to hit from very far away up until it runs out. One thing to note as well about this hero that is very important is, you know, just when your ulti's down, tell your team to chill for the most part. If the game's even, you know, obviously here it doesn't matter. They're 25k net worth ahead, 20 minutes in. But in general, like, you need to be aware that your hero is quite weak. Your Fireball has worse cast range. Your W is melee range. You can't auto attack at all, really. So just be aware of that. But yeah, at this point in the game, look at the cast range, guys. Look at where he can hit from. Imagine going high ground with like an Aegis with this. It's so easy because you can hit from here, man. Like, you can literally hit from here. If you get gone on, you just walk over the wall, right? And it's so hard for them to chase in relation to if you were sieging in the middle, which is obviously usually what is the case. So you can even hit from the trees, which is pretty funny. Just in general, this Ags, if you're creative with it, it's incredibly good. Even buys a Dragonlance, which is such a, you know, it's a kind of a meme, but look at his attack range, bro. Oh my God. You can hit from so far away. So if your team, let's say your carry's a Slark, right? That hero can't siege, you know, for his life. Oh my God, he even has a Grobo. I didn't realize. Grobo's so good on this hero, man. If you can get Grobo on DK, the attack range is great, the attack speed is great, and then the magic resist reduction is fantastic with Fireball in your queue, as well as your corrosive poison. So that's a fantastic DK item if you can get it. I would say it's better than most tier 3 items, and it's a tier 2 item. I think Grobo's personally a tier 3 item. I think it's way undervalued at a tier 2 item. But that's just my opinion. Nonetheless, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed as he hits from the middle of the ancient. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace. And that's all, but remember, before you leave, come on, before you tune out, subscribe to the GameLeap website where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace.